Hello, Lakers fans. This is Wilson. So, I just wanted to check in with you guys. Since the last time I recorded, the big news, of course, is that um, the Lakers uh, signed Deandre Ayton to a 2-year deal. I think it's for 16 million. Um, and so they get their starting center. Um, Also, they signed Jake LaRavia, who who will be replacing Dorian Finney-Smith, who left for Houston. They gave him 4 years, 53 million. The Lakers are trying to preserve their cap space for next year and the year after that, so they didn't want anything to interfere with their plans for the Luka era going forward and building the team around him going forward. Um, and I just think there's been a lot of talk, right? At first, it was like, okay, you know, what are Lakers going to do at center when once Brook Lopez came off the board. I forgot who else was available, and then Ayton becomes available. I think some people knew that he was bought out by Portland. Some people may have saw it coming, but I think most people were surprised. And so he gets bought out unexpectedly, and all of a sudden the Lakers have an option there where they don't have to give anything up to get him. They didn't have to give anything up to get him, and they get a guy who, for his career, has averaged 16 points and 10 rebounds. And last year, I think it's 14 and 10. He's averaged a double double. I think every year that he's been in the league. You know, and the media, the response, right? It went from, oh my goodness, what are the Lakers going to do? LeBron just sent this, he released this threatening message to Rich about monitor the Lakers progress this offseason and what they're doing with the roster. And they went from, oh my goodness, there's no all the options off the board, then all of a sudden Ayton becomes available, and it's like, oh, Ayton's the worst center in the league all of a sudden because he's going to the Lakers, right? Now, if you look at this Lakers team, right, uh, last year they got to 50 wins, right? And the way they got to 50 wins, this is after, they started 16 and 13, which is, barely above 500. They made the trade at the start of the new year, trading D'Lo for DFS, and that changed the team. Then, of course, a month later, the Luka trade, which changed the franchise and changed the league forever, right? So, and with those two trades, that completely changed the fabric of the team. They still got the 50 wins, right? And that's with Luka coming back from injury when he got here and having to play himself back in the form and all those things, and without having a viable starting center, and they still got to 50 wins. So the idea that that it's like this doomsday scenario for the Lakers, even after getting Ayton, and it's just going to be so bad, is preposterous. It's a team that was already like I said, they were a 50-win team. Of course, against Minnesota, that was just the worst possible matchup because we had no size, and Minnesota has the biggest team in the league, right? But so that's just, it's ridiculous to think that this team that got to 50 wins, right? And now they've upgraded and they kept Jackson Hayes for a year. He'll be he's now throw the backup, and now you get DeAndre Ayton, someone who's averaged, as I said, 16 and 10 throughout his career. Someone who was the third best player on the team that made the finals in 2021 when he was in Phoenix. someone who I said, as someone who, I follow the Blazers because I bet on a lot of their guys. Chimani Kamara, Denny Avdia. Simons is gone now, but him, Scoot, Shaden Sharp, all those guys that have money on it. Ayton is another one, but Ayton was a guy who, Ayton was the one that I was least confident putting money on because he was the type of guy who you just never knew when he was going to show up. But what I noticed is that basically the Blazers went as Ayton went, right? So if Ayton showed up and he had his his game face on and he came to play that night, the Blazers were a different team. And when he didn't or when he didn't play, they were worse off. So he comes to the Lakers now on a team that already has Luka, LeBron, two of the all-time A-plus offensive creators as scorers and passers, and then Austin Reeves as your third option, averaging 20 points and 5 assists. And you look at it and you go, okay, all these guys that we have that big three, now you add a Deandre Ayton to the team. And this is a doomsday scenario for the Lakers? It doesn't make any sense, but it just goes to show how the media coverage surrounding the Lakers is it's just always it's not objective. People always overreact in one direction or the other, either too extreme in a positive way or in a negative way, depending on whether you like the Lakers or you hate them, right? So yeah, man, the Lakers. The thing about it is that Aiden is. I can't quite call him a luxury because he's such a need because we needed size. But with the guys that we have, even if he only plays, like let's say he only tries and gives it a real effort, 1 out of every 4 games, right? Even if he only tries 1 out of every 4 games, and that 1 out of every 4 games is going to be he's going to be a monster. Like I said, I would have money on this guy. Some of the lines that he had last year: 25 points, 20 rebounds. This stretch here for 5 straight games. This is in January. When did he stop playing last year? Damn, he didn't play after February. He didn't play after the All Star break. What the hell? But yeah, you see some of these games here, man. But that's the thing that he's inconsistent. You never know what you're gonna get from him. But when he brings it, he's a viable. Like I said, average 16 and 10 for his career. You know, and like I said, even if you only get a good Aiden game every 4 games, even those other 3 games, just his size alone, he's 7 foot, 252 pounds, right? And he can play. He's not a stiff. So him just being out there just makes. It's like when I was playing, and I was in middle school, and I was playing middle school basketball, and the coach told me, just me being there and being out there, it does something just because of my size, right? And I was talking about basketball, not even football, but in basketball too. You see the other teams, like, oh my God, look at these guys, right? But now you see Aiden out there, you know Aiden's name, you see his size, and it just makes a difference, right? So the idea that the Lakers are, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, DFS, that's a loss, right? But Jake LaRavia, I know people like him. I'm not that. I don't really know that much about him, really. But I would say overall, it's a net positive for the Lakers, what they did in free agency. So, um, yeah, man, it's the team that gonna have more. Bro, like how bad can it be? You got a team, Luka in his first full season under JJ playing for the Lakers. Austin, Braun, assuming Braun is gonna still be there. I think some of that talk has calmed down a little bit. The trade speculation. Rui and Ayton. it's like, oh goodness, what a horrible starting five. I'm like, come on, man, that's a hell of a starting five. You know, that's a team that's going to be able to go out there every single night, no matter who they play, and they're going to have a chance to win. You know, so and Luka is the key. You gotta remember, this is Luka we're talking about. This is someone who, just like Braun, when Braun was young, Luka pretty much, over the course of his career, except for his rookie year and the year and 2 years ago, he's pretty much guaranteed you if he was healthy, um, a 50-win type team, a team that a playoff team, and then I mean I just want to say what the uh, well, I mean I do understand it's the Lakers, and the Lakers get people out of character. Um, Let me see here. So elsewhere, I wanted to say something about something that I noticed, um, playing Prize Picks, that that the Lakers. I'm sorry, not the Lakers. That Prize Picks that um, nowadays when I would go to make my bet, they would have this thing where it's like first place wins this. Normally, traditionally, it hasn't said that, and so somehow it came to my attention today. Uh, Actually, it was in the app. The app gave a little pop up or whatever saying, what are we? The California is trying to take Prize Picks away, take DFS away, daily fantasy sports in the state of California, and I went. I did a little bit of research, and I found that so the guy's name is, I think, Rob Bonta. He's the Attorney General um, of California, and he offered his opinion on whether or not daily fantasy sports is illegal in California. And he said, it says, the question presented in conclusion: does California law prohibit the operation of daily fantasy sports games with players physically located within California, regardless of whether the operators and associated technology are located outside the state? And the answer was yes. California law prohibits the operation of daily fantasy sports games with players physically located within California, regardless of where the operators and associated technology are located. Such games constitute wagering on sports in violation of Penal Code Section 337A. And, I mean, basically, bro, it's just like, what is wrong with these people? Like, I remember when they were trying to make, I don't remember if they were successful or not, but they were trying to make rideshare like a, I think rideshare is really like gig work or like 1099 work, and they were trying to make it to where the rideshare drivers were basically like actual like employees, right? They have to get paid like employees with like I guess an hourly wage or whatever. And it's like as somebody who took uh, and I'm a rideshare user. I'm not a driver. I'm a user. I take Uber and Lyft everywhere I go, and it's like at the time I was thinking like what the hell is wrong with these people? You know, don't they have bigger things to worry about? And I think they actually might be part of the reason that um, they're like Lyft is so much more expensive now than it used to be. I mean, what used to be a $8 ride now is a $20 ride. And I think that this DFS thing is the same type of thing. It's like, what is your problem, bro? California is screwed up. The homelessness. I'll be downtown. I've spent times where I was downtown, LA Live. That's where the Staples Center is, or crypto. And I'm over there and I'm walking down the street, and there's like, bro, there's human feces on the street that people have stepped in and tracked down the sidewalk. And this is one of the hottest spots in LA, LA Live. This is where the Lakers play. This is where the you know the you got NBA teams coming and coming into the hotel and staying there, and we're probably walking around getting stuff to eat or whatever, you know. And this is this is the type of stuff you got, and you see it all over the state. You see it in San Francisco, you see it here, you see it everywhere. And this is the time. And then also like how they made it to where like the if you can steal if you go into a store and you steal something as long as it's whatever you stole is less than $900, they won't even prosecute you, right? And it's like it's just, and then this is what you want to worry about is daily fantasy sports, something that's just, and that's why Prize Picks trying to get ahead of whatever is about to happen. They changed their formats, as I was saying. They went from against the house to peer to peer. So now you're not betting against the house. You're betting against other. You're playing against other players, right? And um, now basically the argument that Prize Picks and Underdog and these type of apps are making, DraftKings, any of these that have these peer to peer type contests or so-called pick'ems, right? Is that basically it's a game of skill. It's not a game of luck. You have to actually go through and you have to pick the players that you think are going to go over or under or whatever it is. And actually, I remember I was talking to Jason Wolf once, and he said something. He said the reason that Prize Picks and these type of apps are allowed in California when gambling is illegal in California is because it's really more so. Prize Picks is more not like gambling. It's more like playing the lottery, right? But playing the lottery is that's luck, right? But at the end of the day, bro, is it all luck? Yeah, I would say so. Because how can you really? There's no way to really actually like predict. When everybody loses, right? But at the end, the point is like it's like who cares, right? Whether it's luck or it's skill or whatever it is, none of the people in charge of this state have better things to worry about than this. I just don't get it. Gambling or betting is something that I saw this guy say that this woman said, what is a cure for male depression? And the guy goes, gaming and gambling. And I can say for sure, man, that since I started playing video games again, and since I started uh, gambling, I've been in a much better. I shouldn't say gambling. I should say betting. I've been in a much better mental state. You know, much better mental state than I was before. And even more than the gaming, bro. Because you get to a point where you go, okay, well, I played this game so many times. How many different ways can I, get any juice out of this? But gambling every day is a new day, new games to be played, and it gives you something to look forward to, you know. Um, and yeah, man, every day. Like I said, it's in days when there's no games is rough, you know. Uh, like especially with it being the summer, I don't bet on baseball. I bet on WNBA. I'm gonna tell them about the WNBA. Betting wise, it's like irresistible, you know. And so like WNBA, they don't know how to do their schedule and spread their games out. Sometimes it'll be days where there's just no games, and it's like, bro, what do I do today? You know. So you take that away from guys like me who, you know, it's stuff, man. It gives us something to look forward to, every day. Take our mind off of whatever, you know. So why would you try to take that away from us for no reason? You know, why is gambling illegal in California anyway? Why is it illegal anywhere? Who cares? Why is it legal in some states and not legal in other states? Why? It's just because the states where it's not legal, it's because you have politicians in those states who are like very self-important, and they get to. It's just like people who vote for like the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's like, no, you don't get to be in. You don't get to be in because of this and that, because it makes them feel important, like they have some type of power. And that's the same thing with these politicians. You know, it's like get a life and do your job and make some type of positive impact instead of this stupid stuff like this, like trying to stop us from playing, getting our little bet on every day. Somebody said Rob Monte he's getting money from the casinos to do this. Screw those damn casinos. I gotta get up and go all the way to goddamn Commerce or whatever the hell those casinos are, bro. That's way out the way. Let me just sit here and make my bets on my phone. I'm not winning. All I'm doing is losing money. What's the problem? But yeah, man, California is the most screwed up state in the entire country, and it's because of politicians and people like Rob Bonte. I said what I said. Let me shift gears again now to I saw a couple of movies this last week. And I'll start with Alton Nights. Alton Nights, a movie directed by Barry Levinson, starring Robert De Niro. He plays Vito Genovese and Frank Costello, two childhood friends who grew up and become powerful men in the mafia. The whole backstory there, and you got a lot of probably the most notable figure outside of those two real life mob figures would be Albert Anastasia in there. There's a lot of such people in there. Of course, Vincent Gigante. He plays a rather major part in a certain sense in the movie. I probably won't give any spoilers in case you haven't seen it. But for me, as a mob movie aficionado and somebody who's always been the mob stuff since I was younger, uh, I think the movie was pretty good, man. I know the reviews were lukewarm. Um, but for me watching it, I thought it was decent. But it's frustrating because I think it could. It's a movie where you look at it, and you go, man, a few tweaks here and there, and it could have been. We could have had a modern, a latter day mob movie classic. Now, The Irishman, which came out a few years ago, it was a good movie, but it was different than the classics of the '90s, right? So you're talking Goodfellas, you're talking Casino, you're talking Donnie Brasco, you're talking Bronx Tale, you're talking the Gotti movie, right? The HBO movie. And of course, you had The Godfather in the '70s. Also had Godfather 3 came out in 1990 also, didn't it? That's the one that everybody looks down on. But see, these movies like that, right? Um, thing about these type of movies is also Bugsy. Don't let me forget Bugsy. Bugsy was a Barry Levinson movie from 1991, one of my favorite, all-time favorite movies. Um, but see, the thing about it, and I think that The Godfather 3 is the apt comparison to make here, right? It's because the thing about these movies is that when you watch, every time you watch a mob movie, basically comparing it to some of the greatest movies of all time. Those movies I named: Godfather, Goodfellas, Casino, Bronx Tale. These are movies that people can quote them back and forth. Movies that people watch and you learn stuff that you take with you, you know. And uh, so when you watch, anytime you watch a mob movie, that's the comparison you make. You're comparing it to one of those movies, and then people have the tendency to go, okay, well, you watch a movie like, okay, well, this is not Goodfellas or Casino, so it's trash. But just because it's not a classic doesn't mean that it's not a good movie, right? And this is one of those movies that is, no, is it great? No, it's not great, but it's a pretty good movie. And I think Robert De Niro did a great job. Better as Vito Genovese, but I think Genovese's character in real life, his personality was, he was more fiery type personality, while Frank Costello was a little bit more reserved. And excuse me, De Niro played both parts as such. And then, you know, I think it could have been cast better. So I think that De Niro playing both parts, like I said, he did a good job, but it probably would have been better and not been as I'm saying it was a distraction, but it's something that you can't think about. Is the fact that he's playing both characters. And I think it would have been probably made it a better movie if you had had someone else, a Joe Pesci or somebody mentioned Harvey Keitel maybe playing one of the two, right? Um, Now they had Catherine Narducci, who played Artie Bucco's wife on The Sopranos, and Michael Rispoli, who played Jackie Aprile Sr. on The Sopranos, and Narducci, she played Vito's wife in Alto Nights, and Rispoli played Albert Anastasia. And I think that those are two good actors we know, right? But I don't know, maybe like on The Sopranos, they were more like tertiary characters, right? Like not, so they weren't obviously the leads. I was Tony, and they weren't the secondaries like Carmela or Christopher or what have you. But they were kind of like bit supporting type characters who you remember, but not the biggest, not as big a role in that show that they had, even in this movie as supporting characters. And so maybe you bump them down a notch to their natural, you know, level, and you put other people in there, and maybe that would have made the movie better. Not that they didn't do a good job, but I'm just saying, right? Certain actors that there's nothing wrong with that. Robert Horry was never he wasn't the best player on the team or the second best player on the team. He was the third or the fourth best player on the team, and that was fine. He played his part. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And so uh, you have that, and then I think the way that they portrayed Vincent, Chin Gigante, I don't like the way that they did that. I thought that was them because he wasn't a bumbling idiot like that in real life. He was, that was an act, right? He was actually very intelligent. Um, and so I think that could have been better. And just a few other, a couple others, things in there in the script or stuff like that, man. It was there, man. And I think it's the type of thing that say somebody like Scorsese, with his attention to detail, if he had been involved or this had been his film, that's the type of thing that he's gonna go, okay, well, no, we don't need this in there. Or no, maybe we get this guy instead to play this part. And all of a sudden, he goes from a pretty good movie to a great movie. Also the story itself was kind of it wasn't sprawling enough, like those other movies that I mentioned, which are more made them feel more epic. This story was very specific. It was about Vito and Frank and their relationship and how it fell apart. Um, and also the ending, I guess, about they made it seem like, I guess this is a spoiler alert, that Frank set up the Appalachian meeting to get Vito arrested and all those other guys. Which I guess that was how they took some liberties there. That was fictitious. So that's another thing that Scorsese probably. I mean, maybe Scorsese would have. That's what happens in these movies, though. Uh, it's a movie, right? So maybe that could have been done in a way that was a little less, kind of. I mean, it was kind of funny, but I don't know if I want to see that type of funny in a mob movie, But yeah, man. Overall, like I said, it was pretty good, but it's frustrating because it could have been really good. It could have been great. There's greatness. There's greatness in there. Like the part where he about an hour in, when Costello's at that hearing, and he's not taking the fifth, and Vito said, "Take the fifth, take the fifth." And from that part forward for like the next 40 minutes, I mean, that's a pretty darn good movie. But like I said, I think that man, I think if they had somebody, the Anastasia who was played by Crispoli, like I said, not that he didn't do a good job. It just kind of didn't look like him. I think Anastasia had black hair, and also just it was a situation where when you're looking at it, you're watching it, you're going, well, that's Jackie April. That's not Alva Anastasia. So that's part of it too, right? And then Sinners. I watched Sinners also. Sinners is a very good movie. I think the best movie I've seen that Ryan Coogler has made, and I think that I think he did a good job, man. And um, my main takeaway from it, I think it's also the best. I've seen Michael B. Jordan, the best performance I've seen from him. But I think it's a really good movie. It's a movie that could get Best Picture love for sure. Most definitely. I think it lived up to the hype, and I think that the ending, the ending scene where, spoiler alert, I mean it's hard to explain. It's a freaking vampire movie. But basically, where what's his name said, where Michael B. Jordan's character goes, yeah, that was the best day of my life before the sun went down. Last time I saw my brother, last time I saw the sun, and for a couple hours we were free, and it just the whole Mississippi, all these black people. This is back when we had our own stuff, and it just goes back to I'm not the first person to say it. I've said it before. You know, things were better for black people before integration. It was better. Jim Crow sucked, but we had our own businesses, and we were a community, a true community, then where we're not now. So, um, yeah, man. I think that was the main thing I take away from it is that I wish, bro. It makes me wish that I, you know, could have lived in a time where, we had our own, and but see, not like now. I wouldn't want that now because the way back when being black, there was a little bit more dignity to it in a certain sense than there is now. Where we are now is messed up, but back then, there's a certain utopia for blacks but we never could get it right. We had a chance when they ended Jim Crow, but we just couldn't quite land, man. You know, for different reasons that I won't talk about right now. But yeah, man, before I get out of here, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button next to the Complete Podcast Network and to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at TC Pod Network. You can also send feedback and mailbag questions to CompleteLakersPodcast@gmail.com. I am out.